Vanessa Jane Patrick. Vanessa, she's awesome. That's all I can say. She puts out her Facebook videos every day, I believe every day. I look forward to watching them every day under her Limitless Potential community. She's so inspiring. I personally found her so inspiring. And I've managed to apply a lot of the things that she discusses and she presents in her Facebook videos personally. She is a personality profiler. She's also an international speaker, group trainer and transformational coach who empowers individuals and teams to discover who they are, have the courage to live authentically, that's the word again, authentically, and to meaningfully contribute to the world through her online and offline seminars and courses. I already mentioned the Limitless Potential Academy, and she is the founder of the Limitless Potential Academy, where growth seekers come to get the support and experience they need to break through to their next level of potential. She also runs the Limitless Potential Show, where she interviews the world's leading authorities in personal development, human behavior, and human potential. And she also founded the Limitless Potential Inner Circle community of 5,000 plus like-minded people. So I'm just going to hand over this time to Vanessa. Vanessa, please.
Awesome. Thank you so much for such a brilliant introduction. And I'm really grateful that you did that, actually, because I have got so much that I want to squeeze in and share with everyone today. Oh, hang on, wrong one. Ugh, that'll be right. Hang on, I'll get this share going. And I want to say thank you as well to everybody who's already spoken today. You guys have been amazing. And I've really, really appreciated, yeah, absolutely everything that everybody's spoken into. It's so totally in alignment with everything that I find to be most important. And today, like Joe just mentioned, I do daily Facebook Lives. And every single day I speak for probably well over 15 minutes about really tiny, small concepts and topics and ideas. And so today is going to be a bit of a stretch for me. So I'm just warning you guys, hold on to your seats, because I'm going to fly through this today, because it's so much to fit into such a small space of time. But today I want to talk to you about what I believe to be the most important topic of all. And it might sound idealistic, it might sound woo-woo. I'm going to talk to you guys about why we get into that trap of thinking things are too idealistic and too woo-woo. But today, I want to talk to you about actualizing your limitless potential for a meaningful and a fulfilling life. All right, there's not too many people who I meet wouldn't say they want more fulfillment in their lives. Generally, they're talking about happiness. I want to talk to you guys about real meaning and real fulfillment. So I want to start with just making sure you guys can see everything, but yes. So today I want to start with the end in mind, and I want to introduce you to an amazing woman by the name of Bronnie Ware, who was a palliative care nurse, Australian, and she interviewed patients at the end of their lives who were ultimately at the end, right? And basically she correlated all of the different responses that she got to the question, what do you regret the most in your life? And the number one regret of the dying was that I wish I had have had the courage to live a life true to myself rather than one I felt was expected of me. Now, I stumbled across this piece of wisdom back when I was 25 years old, and I'd finished a business degree that my brother picked for me. I was on the pathway to becoming a lawyer because I thought that would open up the most doors. I had no idea what personal development was or any idea about your potential or how to actualize it. And I was really battling the fear of being too old to make a change, because intuitively I knew I wasn't on the right path, but I basically I was, battling this fear. Long story short, I won't go into the depths of it. I was actually at a Tony Robbins event, and some crazy, amazing coincidental things kind of happened all at once to help me break free of the wrong path. But basically, somebody handed me Bronnie Ware's book at this time, and this rung so true to me, and it's taken me on the path that I'm on today. So basically, I want to mention to you guys that your potential is limitless. You know, it might sound idealistic, but if you truly want to experience a meaningful and a fulfilling life, your goal has to be to actualize your potential. And I'm going to explain in today's training, you know, where that wisdom comes from, and, you know, a really amazing framework that stood the test of time to really help you guys see what that's all about. But, you know, most people settle for a life of mediocrity. You know, they never heed the call towards a meaningful life, or that deeper part of them in their soul that knows they've got more to give and contribute and experience and make a meaningful difference in the lives of others. You know, they're too afraid of the judgments and criticisms and opinions of others, you know, and so they opt to just belong, you know, in their surroundings with the other empty kind of skeptics, while simultaneously just numbing out on their passions and their inspirations. It's unfortunately about the 1% who actually reach for the extraordinary, and who, you know, make it their life's mission to discover who they really are, you know, what it is that they'd be inspired to dedicate their lives and their heartbeats to creating, and developing the courage and the confidence to live a life that they'd truly be fulfilled by. So I want today's message to really invite you on this journey, you know, to wake you up and remind you of your greatness and your potential that you have to access in this life. And it's really what I dedicate my heartbeats to, is making sure that the people that I can connect with are making sure that their life is in alignment with what they'd be most inspired to dedicate their own heartbeats to. So I want to start also mentioning this Abraham Maslow, who was a psychologist and came up with a framework I'm going to be introducing you guys to. You might, some of you will probably have come across this before, but I want to help you to utilize it to actualize your potential. And I love this quote from Abraham Maslow, which is, if you deliberately plan on being less than you are capable of being, then I warn you that you'll be unhappy for the rest of your life. Now, I'm not saying this to be a downer, in quite the opposite. You know, with this kind of knowledge comes our ability to actualize our potential, step into, you know, the life that we were really going to be fulfilled by, you know, not somebody else's life, not living to the expectations of others, like we know the number one regret of the dying is, and actually actualizing what you're most authentically inspired by. So really, I want to also tap into the problem. So, you know, the problem is that most of society is stunted in their growth. They're stuck in survival or chasing comfort, kind of self-fulfilling. And they're creating a lack of meaning and purpose. So they're not motivated to actually do more or contribute more or grow more. And they're stuck in low levels of psychological development. So this is what the framework is going to help to kind of articulate, but basically unconsciously stuck in habitual states of being, attempting to really gain, you know, instant gratification and just avoid challenge and change. And so because of this, they get stuck in really petty states of being and, you know, believing that finding purpose is woo-woo and idealistic, and it ends up costing them, you know, their true fulfillment, as you're going to see. So another amazing quote that I really want to share with you is basically from this knowingness that awareness is the foundation for actualizing your potential. You can't transform anything without awareness. You know, you've got to, that's the foundation to everything. So another amazing quote from Maslow is, what is necessary to change a person is to change his awareness of himself. All right. So that leads us into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay. So basically this is the framework that breaks it down to understand why we do what we do. Why do you do anything that you do? And how to use that sort of self-awareness to actualize your potential in life. So all human behavior can be explained by a motivation, which I'm going to share with you. So you could think of this Maslow's hierarchy of needs as kind of like a staircase that people ascend as they mature in life and as they develop themselves psychologically. And your job in life is to ascend to the top of this pyramid as quickly as possible. But before we dive into all of that, let me introduce you to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and let's look at that pyramid. So here it is. So this was basically developed back in the 1950s by the psychologist Abraham Maslow. And like I said, you can picture it like a staircase that you've got to complete every step of before transcending to the next level. And you're not actually really motivated to move up the staircase until the needs of that current step that you're on are satisfied. Okay, so let's have a look at it. So every single human being has all of these needs, right? So we can break it down into 3 different categories. The first being the very base of the pyramid, which are your basic needs. So we all have physiological needs. This is the need to breathe, to have food and water, sex, sleep, excretion. You know, it's all just the basic needs for you as a being. If you don't have that catered for, you're not going to be able to move to the next step. But once we as human beings have that kind of catered for, we end up moving up to the next level. Now, that next level is our safety needs. So basically, this represents your security. So your security of your body, your security of having employment and an income, having resources, security of your family, making sure that they're safe, having, you know, safety and security in your health, and also, you know, shelter, property, you know, all of those things. So that makes up the basic needs of every single human being. Then once we've got that covered, we then move up to the psychological needs. All right. So these start with your social needs. This is the need that we all have to be loved and feel like we belong. You know, our friendships, our family relationships, it's having sexual intimacy with others. You know, this is, you know, basically our social needs. And when we're satisfied in our social needs, we get to transcend to more of it becomes more important. We're more motivated to move up into our esteem needs. Now, this is all about having self-esteem, building confidence, achieving, having respect of others and being respected by others. And then, you know, when we can really get into those, you know, which most people are quite low on this hierarchy, the idea is once we've catered for all of those basic needs and those psychological needs, only then can we actually get up to our self-fulfillment needs. This is having true fulfillment in our lives. And that starts with our self-actualization needs. That's all about morality, creativity, spontaneity. It's really about reaching your potential, right? It's about accessing real meaning. It's about contribution. It's about, you know, transcending yourself comes next. You know, once we're able to really meet those self-actualization needs, we feel like we're actually stepping into our potential. We're actually making a meaningful difference in the lives of others. We get to come up into this self-transcendence needs where it becomes, more about transcending the self. So now I'm not going to dive too deeply into self-transcendence with the time frame that we've got today. I'm going to kind of leave that kind of out there so you have this piece, because Maslow actually only added that very top pinnacle of the pyramid. It used to only, it used to end at self-actualization. But right before he died, he ended up adding self-transcendence needs to the equation back in 1970. So this was developed 1950. And right before he died, he realized he missed the pinnacle of the pyramid, which was the self-transcendence. So just knowing that that is, the name of the game, right? So the problem is that most people's hierarchies look more like a piece of Swiss cheese, right? There's a lot of holes, going on in these different areas of our needs. So we end up getting stunted, right? We don't maybe have Maybe we struggle just to know like that we can have food on the table, but most people have their physiological needs catered for. Maybe you have some holes in, your safety needs. Maybe like you're worried about your employment, which is, something a lot of people are worried about during this particular time in history. Maybe you feel fear for the safety of your family. Maybe you're having some health challenges. Maybe property is a struggle for you. You're not being able to pay the mortgage, whatever that is. Or maybe you've got some holes in your social life. Maybe you're not really good at making friends. Maybe you don't have, a connection with your family that you'd like. Maybe you don't have an intimate relationship that you'd really like. Or maybe you've got some big holes in the esteem. Maybe you really lack self-esteem, confidence. You're not really achieving, you're not really respecting others or getting their respect. Or, most of us have some holes definitely up in the self-fulfillment realm, and maybe, not contributing to society at all. Maybe even more so, just not being aware of all of this stuff and where it could lead us. So lots of holes that could be going on in that realm, right? So you could think about it as the Swiss cheese hierarchy of that's the problem, right? And we're going to come back to this. I'm going to give you guys some questions so you can make the most of this in your own life and actually apply it very shortly. But what's the real lesson, in all of this? Basically, it's that this pyramid is your game plan for life. Right? Like this is it. Most of us are searching, what do I do with my life? Like, what's my purpose? I don't know where I'm going. And, if you can have just a simple framework to look at, to go, and identify where you've got those holes. And, like I said, I'm going to give you the game plan in a little bit more detail very shortly. But basically, looking at this, you can see that the entire objective of one's life is to raise your awareness higher and higher until you get to the ultimate stages of self-fulfillment. Every human being should be solely concerned with transcending the next step, and getting to self-fulfillment rather than getting stuck in those lower levels, and just, kind of looping around like we tend to do in this roller coaster of life where we have these, these kind of highs and these lows, and you get that thing and you get that next material thing, and it never really kind of is like a fleeting excitement in your life, but nothing's ever really good enough. And there's kind of that inner calling that knows you could be giving more or doing more, but you just never heed that calling. This is it. This is the pathway to show you what's going on. And at the end of the day, taking it even bigger than this is that we as a society actually need you to be successful. When you don't find your gifts and your talents, you can't live a passionate life. So, this is really the thing, don't just think of success as a way to build a cushy, luxurious life for yourself. One of the biggest problems that we have in society today that could be simply and easily remedied if people had enough determination to want to is really this thing. It's that people haven't found their gifts and their talents. And when you don't find your gifts and your talents, you can't live a passionate life. So the majority of people are living passionless lives. They're working dead-end 9-to-5 jobs that have no real alignment to their talents. And because they don't know their gifts and talents, and because they're stuck in a soulless job, they don't end up mastering anything in life. They don't become a master of any domain in life. They don't become very good at anything. They just become kind of mediocre worker bees, habitually moving through their lives. And because of this, they don't develop a dream career or get a life purpose. So their lives have no purpose or deep meaning or significance. And so this type of person struggles to get motivated to do anything significant with their lives. And this person, lives for comfort and luxury, and to avoid pain and discomfort. And it ends up being a very miserable way to live life. And they're very frustrated and unfulfilled. And on top of that, because they haven't mastered any domain in life, and they're not cultivating their gifts and their talents, and they're not accessing their passion, what happens is this person cannot create massive value in the world or for society. They could, if they found their passions and they cultivated them, but they don't. So they're not able to generate massive value, and how can you generate massive value when you're not a master in any domain in your life? You can't. So then these people can't truly become successful, and they struggle to even pay the bills, because they haven't mastered anything in life. They're not just generating any sort of massive value, and they're not contributing in any sort of way. All right. So, you're not able to contribute meaningfully to the world when you're not passionate about what you do and you haven't mastered anything. And that means that you miss out on actualizing your potential and creating that true fulfillment that's at the pinnacle, of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So my advice, to you guys, to everybody listening, is to take your success very seriously in your life. All right. So don't treat it just like other people treat success, where it's just like, oh, I'm going to get successful and I'm going to get all the money and I'm going to go and buy that high-rise apartment and I'm going to go and travel the world and I'm going to go on all these, adventures with my partner and, buy the big house, get the expensive car. That's actually a misuse of success, and ultimately when it's all about you and just satisfying your instant gratification needs in the moment, you end up losing, right? It's costing you the real meaning and fulfillment that you could have by creating a life that's lived from, you living in what inspires you the most, living authentically, living passionately, and accessing that fulfillment at the pinnacle of the pyramid. So, like I've mentioned, the mother of all the problems in the world is lack of awareness. If we can get more people to be successful and raise their awareness, then that's going to be the root fix of many of the problems that we have in society, right? I'm talking, it'll fix things like wars and genocides, rape, murder, social and political and economic problems that we have that stem from a lack of self-awareness. So in this sense, success, the idea of success, it's not a luxury, it's not woo-woo, it's not idealistic, it's actually a real necessity, especially now, in the 21st century, where we're just at this turning point in human history, where we have the power, to make the world a great place or to completely obliterate it for future generations. So now more than ever, it's important that you wake up. So that's where I want to just give you guys a couple of questions to, fill the gaps in your Swiss cheese, hierarchy, which we've all got, right? We've all got holes in our hierarchy. But, I want to ask you guys to think about, where are you stuck the most in this hierarchy? I'd invite you, after you've watched this, amazing e-summit that Joseph has so kindly and amazingly put together for us all, to sit down with yourself and take this stuff seriously and ask yourself, where am I stuck? Where am I most stuck? Where are my holes? Is it in my, physiological needs? Is it in my safety? Do I need to look at my job and my employment, my income? Do I need to look at my health? Is it in my relationships? I need friendships. I need good quality friendships. I need to nurture that family relationship. I need, more sexual intimacy, more fulfillment in my intimate relationship. Or is it, I need self-esteem. That's where I'm really lacking, or confidence, or my achievement, or lacking respect. Look at where you're stuck, where your holes are in the hierarchy, and make a small list. And then I want you to identify what's the biggest one, right? The biggest one, probably lower on your hierarchy there, that you need to just fill the gap of so you can start moving the needle forward. And then the second part of that is to ask yourself, what can I do to get myself unstuck once and for all? All right. So if you identify that biggest hole in your Swiss cheese hierarchy and you identify what's the action plan, what can I do to get unstuck once and for all with this? This should be your goal for the next 6 to 12 months. There is nothing more important than filling that gap. all right, so that you can continue your journey of taking that staircase up to true fulfillment in your life. So, you know, get that game plan, you know, for self-fulfillment defined, like that's given you kind of something to look at. And ultimately, you know, a slow and steady systematic plugging of every hole in your Swiss cheese hierarchy pyramid is really a good strategy for self-actualization. And just to give you an overview in terms of looking at this, because this is a life journey, right? A suggested game plan, just based on, you know, my own, how I operate with this model is, you know, in your 20s and 30s, this should be all about getting together the foundation, you know, those lower sections of the hierarchy, get that foundation in place, right? Take care of the physiological needs, move into the safety needs, get the employment, you know, get that security going on and get those relationships going on. And, you know, ultimately stepping into actualizing your potential. And in those mid 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, that should be really dedicated to self-transcendence, right? And I want to just make an important note here, because many of you listening to this might already be successful. Many of the people, most of the people I work with are very successful, very outwardly or materially successful. Outwardly, you'd think they've got it all together. They got the family, they got the career, they got the money, they got everything, but they're lacking the main piece, the fulfillment. And the trap is, when you get successful, you can get caught up in material success and get stuck there. You know, remember, it took Maslow his entire transcendence to the top of the pyramid. So learn from the people who've come before you, like the regrets of the dying, like Maslow, all of these amazing people out there, so that you don't have to go through the same challenges that they do. All right. So getting to just finalizing what I wanted to chat with you guys today about is just basically, I want to just mention that probably the biggest gap for you is a lack of purpose, right? So a lack of understanding your own gifts and your own talents and how to take those and actually translate them into creating your dream career, all right? Getting paid for what you love to do, what your talents are, how to discover them, how to develop them, and how to deliver them to the world. And so basically, without going into all the details, you know, this has been my biggest passion in life. And it's really the purpose of everything that I do. Everything Joseph mentioned to you about the work that I do is the Limitless Potential Academy, and, you know, the podcasts that I run, everything, the whole purpose of this mission to reach and actualize your limitless potential is to help you discover, develop, and deliver your unique gifts. I didn't know what mine were until, you know, late into my 20s. And now I deep dive into this stuff and help people do that. And ultimately, the name of the game is to help you to self-actualize and towards self-transcendence. So my hope is that part of you, that intuitive part of you, you know, knows what I'm talking about here. And this message, my hope is that it's inspired you to heed that calling to actualize your limitless potential so that you can create that meaningful and fulfilling life. It's been an absolute pleasure to share this with you. Hope I did it in time. I didn't time myself racing through, but my challenge to you is to make your life worth your heartbeats. And just want to thank each and every one of you, and to you, Joseph, for giving me this amazing opportunity, you know, which is me stepping into actualizing my potential with you guys today as well. So you can probably see how passionate I am, but I hope that was of value.
It was. I definitely can see your passion coming right through. Well, I didn't time you either, so that's perfect.
Okay, good.
I do see a hand that's been raised up by Jerry. Jerry, I'm not sure if that was accidental raising of hands, or if you want to ask a question. I'm just going to click this allow to talk in case you want to ask a question. Let's see if he has an actual question that he wants to ask there.
Jerry, yes, he usually does have some good questions to ask.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how that all works.
Okay, not hearing anything, but okay, maybe I do have one question. Unless does anyone else have any questions? Probably we can take maybe one. No? Okay, okay, I do have one question. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, but okay. So at the top of the pyramid, you talked about self-transcendence. Self-transcendence. One of the key aspects in self-transcendence is this idea of peak experience.
Yes.
Peak experience. So my question simply is, peak experience can tend to be spontaneous. They tend to be one-time things as well. Like, for example, I had several peak experiences. Like, for example, me skydiving was a peak experience. And then I've identified certain things, triggers in the peak experience that I can apply in moments where I don't have that latitude to be spontaneous. I can tap into those triggers. I can remember what those triggers are and subconsciously tap into those triggers and apply them, even though I'm not jumping out of a plane every day. Although some people have that wonderful career opportunity, and I'm really, really jealous. How do you, as a coach, help people identify those triggers and then connect with them on a daily basis?
Awesome question. And yes, self-transcendence at that pinnacle. I knew we'd be here all day if I started really diving into, the peak experiences and what Maslow talks about there. But basically, those peak experiences are our ability to tap into joy and love and, authenticity and those higher states of being. Now, basically, the way that I work with my coaching clients is I help them tap into their own unique gifts and talents, what they're authentically inspired by, because this is another whole rabbit hole, which is the biggest passion in my life. But basically, I work with personality psychology. It's made the biggest impact in my own life to understand who I am and what motivates me, what inspires me at my highest capacity. But we can break it down into 16 different versions of a genius, and it's basically I help people, I profile people to give them like, here, Joseph, here is basically the life manual for you to be your most inspired, authentic self. And basically, when people tap into who they really are, and I'm talking about the neuroscience of their personality, what basically cognitively are their greatest strengths, puts them into flow state. When we can get you clear on what that is, that's your unique pathway out of the Swiss cheese hierarchy, right? Like it's here's your specific way of doing that. So the quick shorter answer is I help to profile people, give them a clearer vision of their talents and their strengths in a really scientifically proven way, so that they can have that owner's manual to become their best self in life and go about, nailing down the foundation so that they can ultimately experience those peak experiences from an authentic place because of how they've directed their lives.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You did mention that you had an offer if people want to jump onto your masterclass. Feel free to drop those links in the chat box so that anyone can just put them in. In fact, I would also recommend even Marie. You mentioned a mistress class. Sessions that you have, master classes that you have, and talks that you have for women. Please feel free to drop them in. Janice, your links as well, your TikTok accounts. Just feel free to just drop those links in. At the end of the day, we are a community. We want to support each other. And we want to be engaged and involved with each other's practice and all the very interesting stuff that you guys do. And that's the whole objective of this. Not just learn and share, but also participate and connect with everyone as a community and grow from here. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for the time. And I just wanted to quickly mention to everybody, the free gift that they can get is just on my website, Vanessa Jane Patrick. I've put it there. It's will introduce you to the cognitive functions that define your genius. And I want to throw it out to everybody listening. If anybody is called to, I'd love to offer you a free, a free membership towards the Limitless Potential Academy for the first month. So if they reach out to me personally, that's a saving of $97 US. You can have it for free. And yeah, I'd love to give that offer. Thanks so much. Appreciate the time, and I'll look forward to listening to everybody else.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vanessa.